Hello and good morning. Welcome to Let's Talk About Us. I'm Zach, and today we are covering a story that the left didn't want to cover. Although I think in this case, they did cover it, just not in the usual way, because this is about what Kamala Harris has said during a NBC interview. So we're going to read the article, and then I'm going to show the relevant clip so you guys get all the context. This is from Deseret News. It has 2 center ratings as well as a lean right rating, 2 high factuality ratings, and is owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. No surprise that they're covering this. Kamala Harris says no concessions on national abortion pill, including for religious exemptions. This was published yesterday by Suzanne Bates. In an interview with NBC Tuesday, Vice President Kamala Harris said she would not agree to any concessions in order to more quickly pass a bill on abortion, including any religious concessions. NBC News reporter Hallie Jackson asked Harris if Republicans control Congress, what specific concessions would she be willing to make in order to pass legislation on abortion access. Religious exemptions, for example, is that something you would consider? Harris said she would not consider any concessions. I don't think we should be making concessions when we're talking about a fundamental freedom to make decisions about your own body, Harris said. Jackson pressed Harris, asking her if that argument would win over Republican senators like Susan Collins of Maine or Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. Would you offer them an olive branch, or is that off the table? Is that not an option for you? Jackson asked. I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals because we can go on with a variety of scenarios, Harris replied. Let's start with the fundamental fact of basic freedom has been taken from women of America. The freedom to make decisions about their own body, and that cannot be negotiable, which is what we need to put back in the protection of Roe v. Wade, and that is it. Last month, Harris said she supports ending the filibuster in order to pass a national abortion bill. I think we should eliminate the filibuster for Roe and get us to the point where 51 votes would be what we need to actually put back in law the protections for reproductive freedom and for the ability of every person and every woman to make decisions about their own body and not have their government tell them what to do, Harris said. Harris has repeatedly said she does not think religious people need to abandon their deeply held beliefs in order to support greater access to abortion. But Catholics and other religious groups have expressed concerns over Harris's record on religious freedom when it comes to abortion and other social issues. Throughout her career as a public official, Kamala Harris has long used government power to try to coerce people of faith to violate their consciences, especially regarding abortion and gender ideology, Kristen Wagner, CEO of Alliance Defending Freedom, told the Wall Street Journal. As California Attorney General, Harris opposed religious exemptions for employers like Hobby Lobby and Little Sisters of the Poor over access to contraception, and she has pushed regulations and legislation that could have forced doctors and hospitals to perform abortions even if they were opposed for religious reasons. All right.
That I spoke with at some of the events yesterday, for example, talked about they were there to support you, but also your agenda when it comes to reproductive rights and abortion access. And you have cast this as a matter of literal life and death, as an urgent priority here. If you win, it is entirely possible that Congress will be controlled by Republicans. So what specific concessions would you be willing to make in order to get something done on abortion access as soon as possible?
Well, first of all, look at what has happened since the Dobbs decision came down. A decision that is a direct result of the fact that Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention they would undo the protections of Roe. They did as he intended, and now in 20 states we have Trump abortion bans, which some make no exception for rape or incest,
left that part out, didn't they?
Criminalize healthcare providers in a state like Texas, prison for life for doctors and nurses if they provide reproductive care. And where we have seen this issue on the ballot, to your point about elections, from red states to blue states, when freedom is on the ballot, the American people vote for freedom, regardless of the party they are registered to vote with. We have seen that. And I know that there are members of the United States Congress who are well aware that their constituents are in favor of the very fundamental principle that a woman should be able to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do.
So is a question of pragmatism then, what concessions would be on the table? Religious exemptions, for example, is that something that you would consider?
I don't think we should be making concessions when we're talking about a fundamental freedom to make decisions about your own body.
To Republicans like, for example, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, who would back something like this on a Democratic agenda if, in fact, Republicans control Congress, would you offer them an olive branch, or is that off the table? Is that not an option for you?
I'm not going to engage in hypotheticals because we can go on with a variety of scenarios. Let's start with the fundamental fact. A basic freedom has been taken from the women of America. The freedom to make decisions about their own body. And that cannot be negotiable, which is that we need to put back in the protections of Roe v. Wade. And that is it.
But what if you can't do that? What if you can't get that passed and you want to save lives in Florida and in Texas and in Georgia?
I do wonder if she's going to do it via Congress, or if she's going to try some weird shit.
Right now, it's a
with
question that's
Supreme
out there
Court
because
to
it's
try
not
and
a
get
guarantee
passed
that Democrats
back.
will win control of Congress.
Well, I'm doing everything I can to make sure that we do. On this issue, I think that what is clear to me is whether someone is... I was just with one of the leaders, and I think opinion leaders in the Republican Party, Liz Cheney, who she is, as she has stated publicly and has expressed her
She said it on stage yesterday.
She is pro-life. But she also understands the pain and the tragedy that has happened since Donald Trump allowed Roe v. Wade to be overturned. So that's my point about what is non-negotiable.
Another
it has
part
to
that
be
Deseret left
that we
out.
agree that it is so fundamental that we allow women the ability with their doctor, with, if they choose, talking with their faith leader, to be able to make these decisions and not have the government tell her what to do.
On the question of your beliefs, what you believe in, let me ask you this question, very broadly speaking here.
Sure.
Do you believe that transgender Americans should have access to gender-affirming care in this country?
Well, we saw the part of the speech that they were talking about. And even in that small part of the speech that we saw, they clearly left out 2 or 3 different items. Anyway, this has been Let's Talk About Us. You all have a good day.